Hey folks, welcome back to another Opponent Masters video, and today we're going to talk about Blue Classic and Mega Aerodactyl over here, right? So this unit is, I'd say, relatively straightforward, right? Overall, pretty straightforward unit. It's okay, maybe like this, like, a thing people might wonder about is just, why is it sync move physical and the, main damaging move is Hyper Beam, right? I guess one like little trap that people could sometimes walk to is using Double Edge. Because they'd see, oh, it's recoil removal, so you double edge without recoil. That's so good. No, not really, because Hyper Beam is still better than double edge overall, right? Again, unless you're facing an opponent that has lower, very, very, very high special defense and like no like physical defense, and outside of that, you generally don't want to be using double edge, right? So again, pretty straightforward kit, pretty fast, right? These attacks, special attack, pretty good after you mega. Not that great before you, it's not like bad before you mega either, but it's not like as good as you mega, obviously. And yeah, again, Hyper Beam's at your big move, die hit all plus. You only get a pre-sync, so if you are trying to, use this for your whole team, help buff your team, do keep in mind you should use it before you sync, right? Because after you sync, it's gone. Turns into a double edge, right? Angel Power, never touch that. And okay, unless you're really out of gauge and you just need to pass a turn, then sure. And then your trainer move Bonjour, which gives you +3 attack and special attack, and then when it's and lowers your defense, special defense by 1, and then when used by Mega Aerodactyl, raise your speed by 3 stat ranks. Just keep in mind this part never happens basically, because you want to use this to buff your attack special attack before you mega, right? So when you use your sync move, which you have a pretty good sync move if you have them 3 out of 5, right? You could get a haymaker nuke in there. Anyways. Moving on, let's talk about this guy's kit, right, overall. So, orange, like, grids and stuff. So, not kit, grids. So, oh, also, when we're talking about lucky skill, as usual, striker, try to go for crit strike 2. If you can't get crit strike 2, go for crit strike 1. Can't get crit strike 1, go for power flux 3, I guess, right? Stuff like that. So, anyways, let's talk about its grid. So at 1 out of 5, you don't really have much, right? Just pick up all these Hyper Beam power-ups, I guess, for the most part. And that's basically it. Special attack, don't pick up. You can pick up physical attack if you want to sync with them, I guess. Right? And then like some stat nodes if you really want. But again, overall, not that big of a deal, right? Wouldn't be picking up any of the NPR that's not really good. And if you're running him in sand, then sand shelter, right? So 2 out of 5, we have, again, depending on what you run him in different scenarios. So we do have Hyper Beam move gauge refresh, which is a good pickup, right? Again, if you're syncing with him, you can pick up the sync move power up node over here, right? You can pick up the Hyper Beam power ups over here. I don't think you could afford. You can afford. Yeah, you can afford all the way down here, I guess, if you want. But instead of doing that, I would very, very much like to go for sharp entry instead, because the thing with if you don't have sharp entry, right, you have 4 turns to max out your stats, right? You have to use die hit all plus twice, right, and then Bonjour twice, which is 4 turns, and you don't want 4 turns, you want 3 turns, so you could get sync on your 4th turn, right, instead of buffing another turn, delaying your sync for a turn. So sharp entry, in my opinion, is much better pickup than this sync move power up node over here, right? Plus it's like you have to go through all this ancient power node, which is like, why? Right, all that stuff. So yeah, so you do that. I'm not a huge fan of this first aid, but like if you really want it for some reason, you could drop some of these for the first aid, but again, not a huge fan. You could pick up some more Hyper Beam power-ups over here if you want. If you're running him in sand, you could do sand shelter Sands of Time, which is slightly helpful for his it's the team's move gauge stuff, right? With that, you probably do this instead. Don't need the speed if you have the Sands of Time. Or actually, you could do that instead. Or, oh, no, they're the same thing. Never mind. They're the same thing. Yeah, that's basically, I guess, how you would like to build it at 2 out of 5. Again, like I mentioned before, double edge isn't that good, but there are some things you could do with double edge. Again, just in case you're hitting an opponent that has very, very, very high special defense and very, very low, physical defense, then that's when you use double edge, basically, right? in this case at least. And so that's the double edge stuff. And again, I'd still probably pick up sharp entry over here. If you want, you could pick up another sync move power up node down over here, right? And again, if you're running him in sand, you probably pick up the sand stuff over here, right? Drop this. And for the rest, just, I don't know, pick up this attack, I guess. So that's 2 out of 5. Moving on to 3 out of 5 over here, you have the whole grid unlocked, obviously. And in here, you have a few more options, although, well, you'd have Crit Strike 1, which is nice, right? And then Haymaker, which is the big one. There's the big one over here, right? So, again, that's the big thing you want to pick up. So probably come up here, pick up the Crit Strike 1, just because even though it is 10%, but it does like apply on like all the other stuff, right? And I think you could afford this, right? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you could afford this. So you come down here, pick this up, and then you can pick up Moon Gauge Refresh on Hyper Beam, right? If you need that, which you could do. And you can actually afford Head Start. You could do it like Head Start if you have another extra sync move countdown unit on your team for another 2 turns. But then you could do that. But I'm not a huge fan of this. Like, I don't really care, honestly. So I'd rather go pick up the extra speed over here with this 4, or Hyper Beam power up if you want, right? So yeah, you could do that. But for a bit more sync move power, if you're, for example, if you have an EX blue, right, and you're just going for the one shot, Master Mode stage 1 shot, you could pick up a few more sync move power up nodes, right? If you actually do like this instead, right? Can we afford? Oh yeah, we could afford a Crit Strike as well. So that gets you all that stuff. And if you do want the speed and sand, you could go pick up the speed and sand stuff, right? Which you can afford if you do drop, stuff like that over here, right? But this does also, give you an extra Hyper Beam power up, right? You could compensate with like Surging Sand 1, I guess. Sand Shelter, right? Need that. So I guess you could do that as well. Again, not a huge fan, right? But yeah, there's some ways to run them. Again, if you really want the double edge stuff, you could do that, right? Down here, double edge stuff, Crit Strike 1, or instead of that, you could just do like double edge and Haymaker. Pretty sure you could afford both over here, right? And then a few double edge power ups, since you don't have enough for Crit Strike 1 over there, right? Just some double edge power ups, I guess, that would do. So yeah, that's for his grids, right? A few options over there, right? Just depending on what you're trying to do, what your team comp overall is. And now let's talk about team comp. So there's a few ways you can run them, and here's the first one. And if you're thinking, oh my god, why is it Kyogre again? Well, because Kyogre's really good. He's very good as a unit himself, and to help out units on the team, especially units that deal special damage, right? In this case, we got Roxanne for the extra Hoenn buff, right, for Master Passive, on top of also just giving some, defense and speed for the team, which is not bad. Saves Kyogre a few turns from buffing as well, right? And yeah, save Kyogre like a lot of turns from buffing. Like, you could max out Kyogre's crit with this guy's Dire Hit all plus, right? And then you get +4 from a special attack from here, and then Kyogre just need 1 X special attack, and Kyogre could start spamming Origin Pulse, right? Which is really nice. Outside of that, I guess, yeah, that's, I guess, a Kyogre team. What else you could do is, if you do have the Sandstorm Bros, right, Ingo and Emmet, you could run those 2 as well. So you have 2 rock type, really good rock type damage heals over here. This guy sets up Sandstorm. You probably would want to run the Sandstorm grid here instead. I won't worry too much about gauges, just because Ingo's here to help with the gauges, with his speed buffs, and also the free move next on his trainer move as well. That could also help. And with this, you don't have to pick up sharp entry either for blue, so you just straight up just do your thing. It depends on who you want to sync with here. maybe most likely I'd say you probably want to sync with the EX Ingo. Just get the EX support buff in, just because you have two really good damage healers. So you know your grid for this would be pretty easy, right? Just some sand stuff over here, and then you have like quite a few energy that you could use on hyper beam, right? Again, or the surging sand, whatever. So again, you don't have to spend on haymaker, since again you're not syncing with this guy. So yeah, those are, well, didn't think it reset the whole thing. I thought it just reset the grid. But what else? There's just a lot of options with this guy, right? So again, not only can you use him for damage, you could also use him as a max crit support for a team, right? If anyone needs max crit support, you can run him as well. So yeah, again, there's just a lot of options that you go for here, right? For example, I don't even know, just like Zinnia, Rayquaza, Cyrus Palkia, right? That needs crit buffs. You could just run them with them and give them crit buffs. So yeah, there's a lot of options. You can run them with Olivia as well, Ingo Olivia, etc. Right? Just for rock type damage. So, anyways, that's me with this one, guys. Hopefully y'all enjoy. Let me guys think in the comments down below. Like and enjoy this video, start our channel for some more Pokemon content. I'll see you guys in the next one.